Challenger's Weekly Ramble.
Hello, my friends. It is Friday, the 20th of June, 2025, graduation week, which, of course, well, not necessarily of course, but it does mean that it is time for episode 59 of Challenger's Weekly Ramble, and you're here, I'm here. Let's go. We have a record number of questions from you all. Thank you so much for that. Last week I had, again, it was, I would say, a busy week. 7 gigs, 7 nights on the trot. I know it's not as, some weekends, as regular listeners will know, some weekends I'll have 7 gigs over kind of, 3 or 4 days. So I guess, just one a night, taking it easy breezy. Although 4 of those were the big shows, the comedy extravaganza that I was doing with my dear friend Ali Hassan, which was truly one of the most uplifting and fulfilling creative experiences I've had in a long time. It's always a beautiful and wonderful thing when something that you've been planning for essentially nigh on a decade. Ali and I met at the Kitchener-Waterloo Comedy Festival in about 2014, 2015, and hit it off straight away. Said we wanted to do shows together. And maybe a year or so later, when he came to the GSJ to do a recording of CBC's Laugh Out Loud, of which he is, of course, the host. He is also the host of CBC Canada Reads, and also is an occasional fill-in host for CBC Q Show. As I said in my roast of him at the St. John Hidden Company shows last week, Ali Hassan has so many CBC credits. Ali Hassan has more CBC credits than CBC has actual viewers or listeners, depending on how you want to write that joke. Oh my goodness, I was just watching this thing popped up on Instagram when I woke up at 5:30, whatever. I say woke up. My wife woke me up so she'd go to the gym. And it was a video of Shane Gillis and Bert Kreischer and Doug Stanhope kind of roasting each other, basically reading emails that they had, or, that Shane had sent to Bert and that Bert had sent to Doug, I believe. Basic emails that they'd sent to each other before they knew each other, before they had made it. So Bert Kreischer essentially writing to Doug Stanhope and saying, we've never met, but when you were on stage tonight, I felt like you were talking to me, and essentially humiliating each other. But it is a fascinating thing, isn't it? The emails that we send to people that we admire, and basically they're all kind of writing to each other, begging for, to open for these people, for their heroes. And of course, in years to come, they've all become, colleagues. And of course, Shane Gillis has now become one of the biggest comedians in the world in terms of ticket sales. It's funny that ticket sale, I don't know if this pops up on your Instagram feed, arenas and huge venues, arenas around the world, stating how, well, for example, here's an example of what I'm trying to say in this rambly 6:03 in the morning way. When I took a tour of the Toronto Maple Leafs Stadium arena, which is called, what is it called? So the Rogers Centre is the baseball place that Kendrick Lamar just sold out. Well, I'm going to see Coldplay actually later this year. Scotiabank Centre, the Scotiabank Arena in Toronto, which is home of the Toronto Maple Leafs. On the tour, we took the tour when we were there last month. And the guy doing the tour explained how tragically hip were the Canadian band who had the most sold out nights in a row there, which was 15 nights, whatever. But the biggest selling, most selling tickets ever at Scotiabank Arena is Shane Gillis, which is fascinating, obviously, for a comedian who is certainly an acquired taste. Obviously, there's no bells and whistles. It's a guy in a t-shirt telling stories, being funny, obviously, by a lot of people's accounts. But of course, lots of people on the tour were like, "Who's that? Who's that?" And really, what's weird about these arena records that are being set? Matt Rife is breaking lots of records. Obviously, Nate Bargatze is too. But really, it's not oh, he's the most popular, or they're the most popular. I say it is he. It's always men, isn't it? That is a sign of how the sex division in comedy. That yes, are are there any female comedians breaking these kind of records? I mean, it's interesting seeing Sarah Millican, British comedian, amazing British comedian, becoming so huge. She's selling out venues across North America. Essentially, I believe by creating a huge following on YouTube, I believe, because I don't think she has stand-up specials on Netflix and Prime, which is normally the way that UK comedians break out. Anyway, point being, the reason that Shane Gillis and Matt Rife, of course, are breaking these records is because they have the smallest stages. It's not that they're more popular than Beyonce or, Taylor. Obviously, Taylor Swift plays stadiums, but the point is they used to play these arenas. Whereas Shane Gillis doesn't need, and Matt Rife don't need very much space. They have these tiny little stages in the rounds, which means you can pack more seats in, so they sell the most tickets. So it's quite a misleading stat. Anyway, so I don't know. I've gone down a rabbit hole. Last week was just a joy. Ali and I had been planning doing. We were not playing. We were not breaking records, by the way. We were playing the beautiful St. John Theatre Company's BMO Theatre, a place where, many years ago when Ali came to record an episode of CBC's Laugh Out Loud, which was I think was in 2016, he very kindly agreed to MC/do the Q&A for the premiere of my film, The Comedian's Guide to Survival, which we did at the BMO. I did it as a fundraiser. We sold tickets, but all the money went to the St. John Theatre Company to, I believe, help them with a trip where they were taking a production to Germany. I have since done one other CBC Laugh Out Loud recording. For those of you that don't know, CBC Laugh Out Loud is, I'd say, one of the flagship comedy shows on CBC. It's absolutely brilliant and so wonderful in its simplicity and its purity, in that it's Ali Hassan and his crew travel around the country handpicking comedians to record stand-up sets, which are broadcast on CBC at prime time, obviously clean stand-up sets. They do also then, the performances are then being syndicated through Sirius or such like, so the checks kind of keep coming. So it's a very, very helpful thing for comedians. Obviously this is a business where you have good months, bad months. So it's nice to have the consistency of these checks coming. Anyway, crucially, the best thing about it is that you get to reach a wide audience invariably, if I'm doing a show in wherever, BC or Manitoba or Ontario, there will always be people who say, we've driven 3 hours to come to the show. We first heard you on CBC's Laugh Out Loud. Like it's a shame there's not more opportunities like this for low-ranking comedians in this country. But there is that one, and it's great. So I did one in 2016. Actually, interestingly, was recorded, thanks to Mark Burnett, who made that happen. It was recorded at KV Billiards in Quispelmcis, if you can believe it. And then we did another one in St. John in 2023 at Punchlines Comedy Club. And I'll be recording another one this August. If you know anyone in Cape Breton, there is an amazing Cape Breton comedy festival called the Cape Breton Comedy Festival. Unsurprisingly, I'm a bit delirious for 6:15 in the morning. So it's actually founded by an amazing comedian by the name of Nick Beaton, who actually released a stand-up special on YouTube earlier this year, called Geriatric Millennial. Very funny special, great production values, hilarious stand-up, and one of Canada's great comedians, but. And he, through sheer word of mouth, hit 100,000 views, I believe, on his special. Anyway, we're recording another one recording another 30-minute clean stand-up set at the Cape Breton Comedy Festival this year. Anyway, so Ali and I it was just one of those special and fulfilling weeks. Like more than a decade after first discussing doing a kind of multifaceted show together, we finally did it, and at the theatre where we had done the premiere 8 years ago, and also crucially, we got to share the stage and showcase some of the very best up and coming stand-up comedians in Atlantic Canada. Caitlin Dean, Josh Kotsabaskis. I think I got it right that time. It was lovely to see Josh's dad Dino and meet his wonderful mum, who understandably is can't understand why I'm such a moron and keep mispronouncing their wonderful surname. Josh Kotsabaskis. Kai Lucas, and Michelle Lynn Petit. All did an absolutely phenomenal job. It was a joy to share the stage with them, and I can't tell you how nice it was for us in the midst of what is a very stressful. Like Ali and I basically conceived the show that is sketches, stand up, roasting, surprises, improv. Like it's a lot. Ali arrived on the Sunday, the 8th of June. I'd obviously just got back from London a few days before. Picked out Ali up in a beautiful car that I was test driving / reviewing for the magazine for the week. It's the Audi S3. Now, I'm not really a car guy. I drive a car, obviously, when my wife lets me, and I review cars for the magazine, but I'm not like what in England they would call a petrol head, obviously, because I drive an electric vehicle, which is why I never make it anywhere. Audi S3, massive thanks to Gary and Lisa, who very kindly. Lisa flew to Toronto to get the Audi S3 from Audi, then drove it here, and then Gary drove from Halifax to drive Lisa back. So I had the Audi S3. It was if you saw me driving it around last week, yes, it was me in that bright yellow. It was Python yellow, the color of the car. Python yellow. Looks quite excessive at first. Did grow on me. I will tell you this: the Audi S3 is one of the nicest cars I've ever driven. One of the very first, actually, the first car Pam and I ever had in London was an Audi. She had. I obviously couldn't drive. Yeah, I mean, I get to test drive or review lots of nice cars, and obviously thoroughly enjoy it. I also obviously rent gas cars whenever I'm going on the road, so I drive a lot of different cars. The Audi S3 is one of the nicest cars that I've ever driven. Absolutely loved it. Was so sad to see it go earlier this week. So I picked out Ali up at the airport, took him to the Delta Hotel where we were staying, and that night we went to the St. John Ale House to put the finishing touches to the script for Monday's first show. It was, we had a great time at the St. John Ale House. I mean, I tell you what, Ali had a really great week at in St. John. Like, Ali really got the best of St. John. It was a buzzing week. There was some conference going on that was taking place at the Delta. And I've got to tell you, St. John put its absolute greatest foot forward in terms of the way in which everyone treated Ali and the food that he had and the drinks that he enjoyed. Like, he got to see the best of the city. A quick shout out to, so we started the week at St. John Ale House. Jesse Vergen had the most amazing clam dish, which is a type of clam that is only available, I can't remember the details, but in our waters. It was absolutely delicious, as everything at the ale house is. We started the week there, and we ended the week at okay, why can't I pronounce it properly? Eric Scouten's bar, which many of you know, it's where Road Coffee used to be, next to where Yucks used to be, in the alleyway, which used to be I basically, when Yucks was there, I was hanging out in that alleyway pretty much like 2-3 nights a week if I was not on the road, sometimes more. For various reasons, life, children, work, play, the lack of taxis, all the rest of it, I have not been uptown much at all. But okay, so anyway, Kakuteru. Oh, that was it. It's Kakuteru. Eric Scouten's bar, Kakuteru. Many of you may know it's literally. I mean, Eric Scouten is like one of the world's greatest mixologists. That is a fact. He's right here in our city. Because as regular listeners will know, when I'm on a run of gigs, or when I have any gigs, I don't drink. So I had an 8-day run dry spell, and then let's just say made up for it on Father's Day. And now I'm back on the wagon now, because next week I have quite a big TV appearance early next week. Well, I can tell you. I don't think I'm jinxing it by telling you, but I'm on the I'm doing the good stuff with Mary Berg again next week. So that'll be on Tuesday 24th. I'm assuming this show it will go out today, Friday 20th June. I will point out that Reese, our amazing producer at Podstarter, is currently in the throes of basically Atlantic Canada's biggest ever podcast summit. If you want to learn more about this, and of course, if you're listening to this now, you've missed it, but follow Podstarter on all social medias. Best podcast company in the country, and no one knows more about podcasts than John and Reese. And the Echo Podcast Summit, search for that. It's phenomenal what they've achieved. They've basically got some of the biggest players in podcasting from around the world coming to Halifax. So anyway, the point is they're very tied up with that. So don't be mad if this podcast doesn't go live for a couple of days. I think you're used to this not always going live on the day I record it. Does it make any difference to you? I don't know. Anyway, I guess what. So I had a great time putting the finishing touches. We were quite nervous, obviously, doing a show that we'd never done before, going straight into it on the Monday night. On the Monday, I did spend the entire day. What was I saying about Eric's Scouten? Yes, my point about Eric's bar was that we went there on the last night after the last show, Kakuteru, and I had a cocktail, which I wish I could remember the name, but it was an alcohol-free gin cocktail, and oh my God, it was absolutely phenomenal. I can genuinely say the best cocktail I've ever had in my life was a non-alcoholic cocktail, and it was that one. And you know what? I'm going to look through my pictures and find a picture and name this cocktail, because you should really have it. It also, I mean, as is often the case with some non-alcoholic drinks, it kind of functioned as a bit of a, what's it called? Placebo. In that I definitely felt, I obviously didn't feel drunk, but I felt I didn't take a picture of the Gangdang menu. What an absolute moron I am. Oh, well, Eric can tell us, or we can figure it out. But it's a gin-based cocktail, named actually after one of Eric's amazing daughters. And the alcohol-free gin, just a phenomenal. Honestly, I don't know why we're not all just drinking alcohol-free drinks all the time, given how bloody delicious they are. Where am I? Yes, so we put in touch with the same Monday. We had a bit of time in the afternoon to rehearse. I spent much of the morning stuffing envelopes at the at Italic Printing at the airport. Over 10,000 magazines to stuff. The new issue of the magazine's out. Did I tell you that? Yes, the travel issue of Edit is out. I want to get to the questions soon, so I'm just going to quickly read out on contents what is in the issue. The inside story of Cavendish and Somo music festivals. My love letter to the Kingston Peninsula with stunning photographs by Mark Hemmings. Heather McLean-Reid on Yip Cider and the way in which the amazing Mackay family have turned a cidery / orchard into a world-class, and I mean this, world-class travel destination. I have a friend coming who's from Blackpool, now lives in Nova Scotia, coming to vacation on the Kingston Peninsula this summer, basically to come to one of our Yip Cider shows. Tickets on sale now, and almost sold out. Me and Ethan Ash, I'll give you the dates now, shall I? May as well. Ethan Ash and I are playing the Yip Cider Dome on the 24th and the 25th of July. I am playing it with a whole host of comedians on Friday, the 15th of August. If you are a comedian listening to this, shoot me a message. Ethan and I are also playing Hampton Brewing Company on the Tuesday, 29th of July. I'm playing the Courthouse Theatre in St. Peter's Bay, PEI, on the 31st of July. Is this getting boring? Well, and I will say my family yard sale is taking place for sure, weather depending. Sounds like one of those ads, This drug will cure your headache, may cause your penis to snap off, may cause you to have a heart attack, may cause yard sale, weather depending, Saturday 28th of June, here at my house, Rosso Road. You want the number, shoot me a message. Okay, this weekend I've got a very exciting thing happening later today, involving the Kingston Peninsula and the Kingston Farmers Market. I will tell you more next week because I need to wait for it to happen first. But suffice to say, I had the most lovely offer after someone read my essays to the Kingston Peninsula. And then all weekend, I'm in Fredericton at a soccer tournament with my son, which, quite frankly, is a joy. Nothing makes me happier than sporting tournaments when you basically get to watch your child play sport for the whole weekend, which is lovely because it means they have to spend time with you and they can't get out of it by saying that, oh, Dad, you're a loser, you're embarrassing. I want to be with my friends. I don't want to be with you, Dad. They can't say that because they need you to ferry them around. That's what it is. It's you want it to be that's codependence. You want your kids to basically feel Stockholm syndrome. So yes, also in the mag. So it's I saw it in Walmart yesterday. I'm sure it's in all stores. Head down to your local Indigo, Shoppers, Walmart. Where else sells it? Superstore, Sobeys. Volume 33. Can you believe we've done 33 issues in the magazine? It's our first ever travel issue. Obviously, we've always featured travel things, but this is an entire issue devoted to travel. I've also written about my love of Moncton Dieppe. It is an article based on that stand-up video that I did that it didn't go viral, went New Brunswick viral, about the Magnetic Hill area. An interview with chef Prasanna Kumar. I interviewed the new head chef at the Algonquin. Very lucky to have him in the region. Do check that out. Chef Michael Smith shares some summer wood fire and smoke recipes. Charisse Letson writes about the amazing Curtis at Glass Roots in St. John. We also have the inside story of the St. John Regional Hospital Foundation's Medical Innovators Challenge. I've also written about Gramanan Island. Jen Wood's written about Amma Waterways. Kelly Lawson meets Josie Cormier, who is at the forefront of the health and wellness industry in Atlantic Canada, if not Canada. She runs a very popular spin club. What do you call it? Spin studio. Spin cycles. You know what I'm saying. In Shediac, I know Nikki Payne has been there. Great pictures. Kelly's pictures, absolutely phenomenal. They remind me of the artwork for my favorite movie. I have a lot of favorite movies. One of my favorite movies, Perfect, with John Travolta and Jamie Lee Curtis. Thandaway McCarthy interviews a bona fide hero, Corporal Cliff, who I was popping messages with already actually this morning. A really, really powerful feature and interview with a bona fide Atlantic Canadian hero, and of course with accompanying photographs by Gary Weeks that are works of art in their own right. Brandon Hicks went to the Puffin Paradise, the Machias Seal Island, the place, an island so small that Gramanan is the big city. I have also written about my love for Halifax and why I believe Halifax to be the greatest city in the world. Brandon also writes about Clara Dennis, who is he's created one of his beautiful graphic novels about Clara Dennis, who is a tourism, a maritime tourism legend. Anyway, that is the issue. Do check it out. Pick it up in a store or order it from maritominute.com. That's the end of the plugs. Also, my son River has written his book review. So the point being that on that Monday morning, I did loads of Edinburgh stuff, and then we did our first performance. Now, our first performance at the St. John His Company on the 9th of June went very well. I will say Caitlin Dean was an absolute joy, as always, and phenomenal on stage and off. It's interesting. Annie and I have been doing this, both been comedians for over 20 years. So you know quite quickly what's working and what's not. And interestingly, the structure we landed on, i.e. sketch, intro, roast, special guest, me stand up, him stand up, improv. That structure didn't change, and I don't think it's going to change when we take this show. Sorry, it's a burp. When we take this show on the road, but we did realize there was changes that we had to make. So it's very interesting getting together on Tuesday and essentially going through what worked, what didn't work, what changing demeanor, like we possibly were. When we were introducing the show on the Monday, which was the first show, we were possibly acting somewhat apologetic / less upbeat, more like, oh, what's this going to be? Which we realized you can't do. These are, this isn't a work in progress show. You've got to come out, guns are blazing, and you can't be unsure of it. You've written this, you're proud of it. Anyway, so we realized very quickly what we needed to do, what we needed to change. And day to day, we rehearsed for a few hours every day. Jeremy Gilmer came on the Wednesday, and we went to hopscotch afterwards. Again, I had Corona Zero, absolutely delicious. I mean, literally, why are we poisoning our bodies with alcohol when the non-alcoholic drinks taste so good? Jeremy Gilmer and his wonderful girlfriend Jen came, and Ali and I also went to the Right Cup, which I've talked about before. Right Cup, amazing cafe. Amazing cafe. Beautiful flat whites, amazing gluten-free chocolate tort treats. Crucially, though, they seem to be selling more books by New Brunswick authors than any bookstore in history has ever done. Hats off to everyone at Partridge Island Publishing. Ali's book is in store at the Right Cup. Signed copies of Is There Bacon in Heaven? My book now is also in there. What's my point? Anyone that's watched Landman with Billy Bob Thornton and wondered, is it really like this? Pick up Jeremy Gilmer's book. I literally finished that show and thought, I need to know more about the oil industry. And then had the pleasure of picking up Jeremy's book. And basically, he worked in that industry. What an insane and incredible life this man has lived. I will tell you the name of the book right now because I don't have it right in front of me. But why is the old internet being slow as? Okay, I'll get it up in a sec. Speaking of books, I did just finish reading Boom Road by Shawn Lawler. Shawn Lawler, I first met. He's a friend. We have many mutual friends. He's good friends with Jimmy McKinley and Matt Richardson. So again, if you know those guys, you will know that Shawn is obviously from Miramichi, which you will also know if you read his amazing book Boom Road, and do pick it up. Absolutely phenomenal. Loved it. Don't read the back cover, by the way. I found there's a plot detail revealed on the back cover that doesn't take place till about 100 pages in. And I have a friend who also read the book who didn't read the back, and said he found that, I agree, a more effective plot twist, not knowing. So Jeremy's book is called This Rare Earth. Read the review on the seaboardreview.ca. It's a review by Heather McBriarty, who is also an incredible author, and she also very kindly once gave me a lovely review. Interestingly, on the Miramichi Reader. Anyway, This Rare Earth, building the dams, mines, and mega projects that run our world. Incredible book that Jeremy wrote, and expect it to do phenomenally well at next year's New Brunswick Book Awards. But where am I? So day to day, Ali and I basically tweaked stuff. One mistake I would say I made, and tell me if you were there and if you agree. I made the decision to, in my stand-up portion, I was just doing 25 minutes of stand-up in the show. The roast bit always went very well, although we really had to, after the first night, the audience were a bit horrified by the roasting, because obviously Ali and I were going full-on for the jugular. We were going full-on hardcore roast. And the audience were a bit horrified. So we realized we had to kind of emphasize to them that you roast the ones you love, that we're in it together. We had to make sure that the other one showed that they were enjoying it, so the audience could feel comfortable enjoying it. I think we got it there. I mean, the roast was quite savage, and I wish I could read out some of the roast insults, but obviously I need to save them for the road. One thing I decided in my stand-up to not do like old stuff, and by old stuff I guess I mean the classics, the greats, the stuff that let's say the bankers, the gags that I know will land. I actually decided to do all the new stuff, EV car bit, cock blocked by a mini doodle, all that, which seemed I somewhat regretted on some nights, because the audience actually was often predominantly made up of people that hadn't seen me before. But again, that's the challenge. Can you win people over with your brand new stuff? Anyway, it was a great week. So much fun working with my friend. And on Thursday, we actually got a chance to go to Shadow Lawn Inn for a lovely lunch with Pam, which again, it's always nice. But Pam obviously knows and is friends with all of my comedian friends, but we rarely get a chance just to go. And it's always like pre-show, post-show, stress, or the wild night after like the end of a run. It's never you never get by a run. I mean a run of shows, not obviously a jog. But we got to have a nice lunch. It's just nice for Ali and Pam to get a chance to chat and not for it not just to be a hi mwah, mwah, before or after a show. Friday night, I had a gig in Fredericton at the Crown Plaza in a room where I've done literally, I would say, dozens of gigs. I would say upwards of 30, 40 shows in that room. For the, it was 300, 400 union delegates from across Canada. Great audience. Absolutely phenomenal. Shout out to Encore, who handled the tech and did so majestically, because 400 people in a room, only half of whom are seating, dance floor in front of the stage. Granted, we did manage to get seats on the dance floor, but it was bar at the back of the room. It could have been tricky sound-wise, but Encore, as always, nailed it. Had a blistering show, and resulted in a full house standing ovation. I suppose you can't call it a full house standing ovation when half the room was already standing. So half of them didn't choose to stand; they were standing already. They stayed standing. When all the seated people stood up to give me the standing ovation, the other half of the room could have protested and sat down, but they didn't. So full house standing ovation. Thank you very much. Ego. I'll get to your questions. I think we're about halfway through. Saturday, my kids are watching that TV show, The Rookie. Fascinating, these shows that have these really basic premises. The premise is an old man, he's about 44, younger than me, becomes a rookie on the police force. And then ultimately, it's the same kind of week-to-week episodes like every other cop show, but intriguing. And intriguing that did I say this already, how my kids got into it kind of by TikTok clips. It's funny how that's the way now. I'm actually pitching a show now to a TV network, and that's part of the pitch, the way in which you could promote it on the big bot lick locks to kids. Hacks. I'm halfway through the final episode of the 4th season. I'm just quickly checking I haven't missed anything. Okay, we're going to go into your questions, my friends. I am reading another wonderful book by another phenomenal local author, and actually one of my was that still recording? Did it, when the screen goes off, does it stop recording? You tell me. I don't know. I'm reading another phenomenal book by the name of The Light of Faded Stars, by Francis Adrian Morneau. And it is a crime book set in St. John, which, as you all know, I love. I love crime. I love committing it. I love I love crime, and I love St. John. Speaking of crime, very quickly before I go to your questions, oh my word, I know I've slagged off the awful, and I don't understand why everyone loves it, the awful Mobland with Tom Hardy and Pierce Brosnan. There's some hilarious sketches on Instagram of basically people doing impressions of Helen Mirren and Pierce Brosnan auditioning. Pierce Brosnan, I will say this again, is actually Irish, and for some reason, what that accent is he's doing, I'm a Harrigan. No Irish person in history has ever sounded remotely like Helen Mirren or Pierce Brosnan in Mobland. I have just started watching a show on Crave. It's a BBC show with Shawn, who's one of my favourite British actors, who's also just has such a grizzled charm. He has the look of a mob boss. It is if you've ever seen the movie Sexy Beast with Ray Winstone, not the terrible TV spin-off of Sexy Beast, there's a TV show called This City Is Ours. Now, I have complained about Mobland not being realistic because, crime bosses / gangsters don't spend all their time blowing up just random family members for the hell of it. That's what serial killers do, and terrorists. Crime bosses spend a bit more. Anyway, this city, it's the polar opposite of Mobland. Now, if you love Mobland, you are not going to like This City Is Ours, because you will probably think it's a slow burn. I am absolutely loving it. It is lazily being called the Liverpudlian Sopranos, the Scouse, if you know what that means. It means Liverpool. The Scouse Sopranos. It is absolutely phenomenal and realistic based on my understanding of how the crime business works, the crime business, organized crime works. Um, so yeah, if you have watched Mobland and are, fine, you enjoy it, but you recognize that it is basically the young and the restless of mob shows. This City Is Ours is just glorious. So anyway, okay, let's go through your questions. And I will say now, in case I have to finish quickly, because I actually have to take my kids to the dentist the second we hit 7 a.m. So I will just say now, happy graduation week to everyone. And I'll just say goodbye now. Goodbye. And I'll go through your questions. Okay. Liam Patrick McNamara. Great to hear from you, my friend. Is there a North American equivalent to the British exclamation of Bosh? Good question, Liam. First of all, can you explain what Bosh means and when one would typically use it? Is there an equivalent? Happy Wednesday. Happy Wednesday to you too, Liam. It's Friday now. Happy every day to you, Liam. You're a wonderful man. I'm looking forward to working with you. Bosh. Okay, so yes, I use Bosh in post, so it's almost like going, newsflash, Bosh, did you know, Bosh? But then, of course, I use it in sentences. Bish, bash, bosh, sweet as a nut, lovely, jubbly. But, so what you would do is, in an office, if you worked for a magazine, say, and you just secured a cover star that everyone wanted you to get, like you've just got, you've just got Jennifer Lopez secured for the cover, and your editor's been trying to get her for years. You walk back in the office and you go, Bosh! So it's kind of like, newsflash, or guess what? Bosh! But it also works with it's, I guess, used in partying vernacular as well. Like, Bosh it! Like if someone puts a shot in front of you, or for example, drugs. I guess if someone puts if someone were to put a I don't know, a weed pipe, or in the case of hard drugs, like a line of cocaine in front of you, they go, Bosh it! Don't think about it, mate. Bosh it! Bosh it! Ah, that's it, mate. Or then you might do it and go, Bosh! So that's where it comes from, and I hope that's helpful. I think it's time for me to bring Bosh. And so I can't take credit, but I'd like to say I brought Ledge, short for legend, to the Maritimes. I want to bring Bosh. So if you see me walking down the street, anyone, just shout Bosh at me. It'll cheer me up. Charmaine Cap, always a joy to see your name in the comments. What is an example of something known by one name here that you would call by another name from UK? Example, chips or erasers. Erasers, chips or erasers is a good one. Like erasers here is a rubber in England. Obviously, a rubber is a prophylactic here in Canada. My son found that out the hard way. First day of school, asked his teacher if he could borrow her rubber. She looked horrified. He thought he was helping when he said, I don't want to make a mistake. There's lots of them. Obviously, pants, obviously meaning, trousers here, underpants in England. Obviously, newsflash or guess what here means Bosh in England. I would ask you all to share more with me that I might not be aware of. Quiff is the other one, of course. Quiff here means vajayjay, and in England it means tuft of hair at the front. It's weird because you notice the quiff in the rest of Canada. Queef is a what we would call in England a fanny fart. But there's another one. Fanny means bottom here in Canada and North America, doesn't it? Fanny. But in England, the fanny is the vagina. So a fart that comes from a vagina is called, sorry, this is maybe a bit graphic. It means it's called a fanny fart in England. How did I get onto fanny farts? What's that got to do with anything? What was I saying? Chips, erasers, pants. Quiff. Yeah, a queef in other parts of Canada, as I understand it, is a fanny fart, but or a sound from a vagina. But as I understand it, in the Maritimes, that joke I have about the quiff. So let me know your thoughts on quiff and any other words. And that's me putting it back on you, dear listener, so I can come up with new material. Double fisting is another one. In Canada, if you hold two drinks, you call it double fisting. In England, double fisting is, well, Google it. Don't Google it. You'll get into trouble. Close your ears if you've got, or turn the volume down if you've got kids in the car. You know what fisting is, right? In England, double fisting would be two of those, two fists in an area, not a face, in a well, I guess in a fanny. Well, it could be either. It could be both fannies, as in could be the British fanny or the American fanny, North American fanny. A fist, a fist up the arse. For two fists, double fisting here is two drinks. In English, you don't really have a word for two drinks in your hand. It's just what you do. It's called a Monday. Two drinks, one in each hand. Double fisting. In England, if you said, "Oh, you're double fisting," you're gonna no, I'm not. No, I haven't got two fists up my ass. That's a bit much. New Brunswick Daily News. It is wonderful, wonderful, wonderful to hear from you, my friend. So this is from Dave Mantin. Do you all follow the Daily News networks? You should do. New Brunswick Daily News, Nova Scotia Daily News. Dave Mantin doing God's work, sharing the news in the regions. Oh, he's just sent me a message. How does he know I'm talking about him? How goes the battle, my friend? Very good. Thanks, Dave. What's better? Oh, this is a good question. What's better, working with a seasoned comedian or a hungry new comedian at the mic? You know what? It doesn't really make a difference. In terms of what's better is working with someone that you like, someone that is nice, someone that is a pleasure to be with backstage. What makes someone a pleasure backstage? I guess knowing when you want to chat and when you also need quiet because you're freaking out. Because there can be an assumption by newer comics that because you've been doing it a long time that you're not nervous, and that's not the case. I'm there, bricking it. But sometimes I want to chat. Other times I'm just going to text my son quickly and tell him to get up to get showered. We got to get to the dentist on the west side. Well, we go to my wife's dentist, Dr. Chase. She was his dentist when she was a kid, and now he's our dentist. And lovely man. I thank you, love you. Why am I still writing these things? Our kids don't reply to us like that. I mean, obviously, there's that thing. I mean, you want the other comedian you're working with to be great, and sometimes you can work with an absolute legend of stand-up, and they won't do very well for whatever reason. And sometimes you can work with a brand new comedian, and they'll rip the roof off, like all four comedians last week. I mean, all were absolutely phenomenal. I mean, as Kate and Dean said about Michelle Lynn Petit, Michelle is someone who has worked tirelessly to not only improve and get better. I mean, she's one of those people that every time I see her, it's like, wow, just gets better and better and better. It's telling that she's headlining. And if you get a chance to go and see Michelle Lynn Petit headline Punchlines or Comic Sutra, do so. And the sign of a true professional, I will say also, is that Michelle can be like essentially can be like a dirty comic. In the most brilliant and fabulous Nikki Glazer / Steph Tolev / Amy Schumer way. But I had suggested that she work clean last week, and she did. And she said it was her first ever clean set, and she absolutely ripped the roof off. I mean, that's the sign of a professional. And so I mean, if in terms of, I guess last week is a perfect example. I got to work with a seasoned comedian, Ali Hassan, one of my best friends in the world, and four of my other dear friends who are all more up and coming comedians. And I loved working with them all equally. So really, what sucks is when you just work with either a jerk, which can happen, and often they are. There's a very, very famous comedian that Catherine Ryan and I worked with about 10 years ago who did deplorable things backstage that kind of tantamount to sexual harassment. So, you know what's better is working with nice people, and that's the same in every business. Gary Short, spend a morning at a yacht club or marina and find out the stories behind some of the boats. That's a really good idea. I would love to do that. Which yacht club should I go to? Is it the RSC, the Milledgeville one? Should I go to the Rosse one? Or should I hang out with the boat owners down at the Renforth boat club? I'm looking. My lovely neighbours Jane and Bentley moved away. They do still park the boat, though, at the bottom of the garden, or did. So just to everyone's clear, I don't have a boat. I still don't have a boat. I've never had a boat. So I am looking for boat invitations this summer. And I would just say welcome to Jennifer, who is moving into Jenny Bentley's house, who is very good friends, I believe, with my other friends, Luch and Shannon. And Jennifer moves in, I believe, this week. She's moving from Calgary. She's from here. She's moving in next door, and I can't wait to meet her. Gary's short. This is graduation week and last week of school. It is. It's interesting because none of this, all this stuff that's going on this week, none of this happens in England. None of it. None of it. I'm just gonna have a sip of tea quickly. One sec. None of this. Like, I think it's, and I get the whole. I mean, everyone knows the prom, high school prom graduation thing. That's a North American thing. Doesn't exist in England. School ends, you get a job, you shut the fuck up. It's not, well, there's some in, I'm sure. Maybe there is now. I mean, there wasn't really Halloween when I was growing up, but what there wasn't was big celebrations for the end of term when you're not graduating. Like, it's all a load of rigmarole this week. My kids are 11 and 14, and it's all, graduate. We're not graduating. It's just summer holidays. It's just, what's the celebration? Them being under your feet for 2.5 months, getting in the way, draining your bank account, stopping you from working. Bloody nightmare. Nothing to celebrate. I'm being facetious, of course. It just doesn't exist in England. Like, the school ends and you go home and that's that. But anyway, congratulations all the grads, and it is sweet seeing all the kids in their dresses. And I have friends who are hairdressers and friends who are in the seamstress business, and it's a bloody stressful week for them. Why don't more proms hire comedians? That's one thing that's on my mind. A lot of the theatres in Atlantic Canada announced their seasons, and it seems to be their seasons of shows these last couple of weeks, and it's elbows down seems to be the message, since there are none, or in some case, or very few Canadian comedians. There's lots of American comedians. So elbows down, support Canadian in every respect is the message. Only buy Canadian foods, fight back against America, except when it comes to comedians. Screw the Canadian comedians, and just the amount of American comedians performing in, and I am still, as you know, I had to postpone my main shows. It wasn't quite as simple as it was reported on. There is one show in Maine that we are, out of respect for the people there, trying to make happen, but it is not easy, obviously. But it's very easy for American comedians to come to Canada, and it's very easy for them to sell tickets here, and it's very easy for theatres to book them. And yeah, I had hoped that what was going on might see a shift and an appreciation for Canadian comedians, and there is amongst you, the lovely people of Canada. Unfortunately, the venues are not. The comedy clubs, the theatres across the country, still predominantly booking American acts. Do what you will with that information, but I would just say, treat your comedians the way that you would treat your groceries. Eat them. Yeah. Prioritize tickets for Canadian comedians. It doesn't have to be me. This is not about me. It's about this industry in this country, and the fact that you lose all your comedians to America. So, okay, Kathy Sullivan. I'm sure you've been asked this before, but I'm new to the game. So how is England today compared to when you grew up there? Well, good question, Kathy. I mean, if you listen to English people and read British newspapers, you would think that England was completely gone to I don't want to say SHIT is bad language. I'm trying to avoid using bad language on the podcast and in live. Did I say this already? That I didn't think I got to it. One mistake I believe I made watching the footage back from last week's shows was that I felt like there's me talking about how Michelle, Ali predominantly works clean. Michelle, who doesn't normally work clean and rip the roof off. I I felt like I was possibly because I was doing new stuff, but maybe a bit nervous. And when I'm nervous, I tend to F bomb too much. If you were at those shows, tell me, was I F bombing it up too much? Um, because I feel like I was, and I feel like I probably did my act a disservice for doing so. Then obviously Friday night, this union gig uh, in Fredericton had to be clean, ripped the roof off. Saturday night, I was doing a fundraiser actually for the ACTS, which is the Arts and Culture Centre in Sussex. It was at Cornhill Nursery. It was my first ever gig in a greenhouse. If you want to see what that looks like, go to my Instagram feed. There is not only footage from the gig, there is footage of me being, I kid you not, being heckled by a cow. That is a sign you are living the rural Canadian comedy dream. See, you don't get the Tom Pappers and the Mark Normans and the Shane Gillises playing greenhouses, do you? I love it. So much fun. Did an hour completely clean. I basically did pretty much the same hour Friday and Saturday. I do pretty much have a solid clean hour that I'm quite proud of. That really I don't need to reinvent the wheel every time I travel the country and do corporate gigs places. I have this perfect clean hour. What's my point? Yeah, I think I talk about this a lot on here, but yeah, I feel like I F bombed it up too much and did myself a disservice. Oh, that was the weird thing on Thursday night. Not weird, lovely, but also weird. There was a couple that kindly brought their newborn baby to the gig, so it's always nice to know you are someone's first ever gig. Also, another couple brought their kids, which again, the kids must have been 9 and 11, which is fine. Again, the parents were very. This is not the parents of the baby. This is the parents of the parents were extremely drunk. It was the strangest thing. Trying to deal with. There's a humdinger for you. We comedians know how to deal with drunk people. We know how to handle that. How do you deal with them when their kids are there and their kids look absolutely mortified? That was Ali actually gave me a very good tip on how to handle a situation like that, where you can't go for them the way you would normally because you don't want to upset these kids who do not deserve to be humiliated further. And comedians, if you want to know, I'll tell you. I don't want to really give it away, but if any comedian wants to know how to handle that, I will share it. Charlotte Florelling, God bless you, my friend. Nice to hear from you. Have you had your ADHD used against you? I feel like it in itself is every day you're trying to find ways for it to not work against you. But I have had someone, when it was announced that I was going to open for Chris Hadfield at last year's Solar Eclipse, there was an odd outpouring of hate towards me from people in that area, Florenceville, Bristol, Carleton County, whatever. I mean, also lots of very nice people, and the show was great and it sold out in the end. But when it was first announced, lots of people were saying things like, this is supposed to be a good opportunity for our kids. Why is this filthy, foul-mouthed comedian opening for him? Obviously not understanding that when you're working clean, you're working clean. And one person weirdly had put, he's disgusting, he's filthy, and he has ADHD, as if like that was a reason to not book me. So I guess yes. And although fairly new to with the diagnosis. My Aunt Teresa might be listening, and I wanted to say, Aunt Teresa, I thought of you in the whole time when I was in Blackpool, not least because obviously our favourite scene in Roy Chubby Brown's movie UFO was always the bit when he's trying to run to the gig on Blackpool Pier and the girl comes running up with a tape recorder and says, "Can you record a message for my brother?" And Chubby goes, "I can't, I'm on in a minute." And she goes, "But he's in a coma." And he goes, "Oh," and they press record and he goes, "Wake up, you doozy runt." But of course it's not runt, he says, it's the other word, on with the C. So I thought of you as I stood in that exact spot on the pier. And then I was reading his autobiography as research for this chapter of the book I'm writing about this pilgrimage. And in it, he talks about how that was one of his improv, or a line he came up with, and how it's one of the lines he's proudest of in the film. Anyway, I want you to know, Auntie T, I was thinking of you the whole time. Andrew DeReer, and I will say Andrew W. DeReer is a wonderful, wonderful man who wrote some very kind words on my webpage, which I appreciate, also has an amazing wife who I had the pleasure of working with for a number of weeks earlier this year. And he's asked the question, I've been thinking a lot about soup lately. Is that something? It is something, Andrew, because, obviously now this is the season somewhat for chowder. Is chowder soup? There's a question for you. Funny when you're a kid, when I was a kid and I was sick, I'd always have cream of chicken, Heinz cream of chicken soup, or Heinz cream of mushroom. Not mushroom, tomato, obviously, not mushroom. And cream, I don't think is good for you when you have a cold, is it? Because it clogs up the not the phlegm. What's it called? The Qatar. Isn't that a place? What's the difference between Qatar and Qatar? Anyway, do you read that thing about? What's that thing about how they're trying to build the fastest ever train from Dubai to somewhere? It's like essentially like a 10-hour drive. They're making it a 1 hour. Is it? Also, did Elon Musk say something about something from a plane? Something. I should do some research before talking absolute bollocks. Elon Musk said something about, was it New York to London, like not bringing back Concorde, but was it bringing back a train? I don't know. Not bringing back a train, building a train. Who gives a shit? Oh, I saw last night I was driving around. I did see one of those stickers on a Tesla saying, I bought this before I knew Elon was crazy. Made me laugh. My dear friend Joseph Camo, wonderful, incredible world-class photographer. Also, someone that does a hell of a lot for journalism in this region and news stories, and also fundraising / support of our essential services. It's a good question. I don't know the answer to this. Why is it New Brunswick makes you pay the book value in taxes on the sale of a vehicle, even if the amount you paid was considerably less? I'd say for the same reason that so many things in New Brunswick, we get screwed over here more than other parts of the country, which makes no sense. Well, here's a question. What happened to local journalism in New Brunswick? Well, that is a good question. I mean, Joseph, thanks to people like yourself, we are still kept abreast of the news on social media. Local journalism does still exist in that we are still blessed to have some amazing journalists here. We have Bryce McVicker is a phenomenal journalist who moved to St. John, works for the Telegraph Journal. Jackson, the editor of the Telegraph Journal, is a long-standing journalist who worked for the TJ, I believe, for more than a decade. Everyone that I know that has worked with him tells me wonderful things. I also hear he's a fantastic musician as well. I think Mark Goslin told me that, and possibly my good friend Tyler Warren Ellis. But yes, I mean, it has dwindled, and I suppose anyone would admit that there's less copies of the newspaper, which is a shame because I love having the physical paper. I guess it's something that's happened nationally, but I guess small mercies and small blessings. We are very lucky to have people like yourself, Joseph, sharing the news on social, and we're very lucky to have Bryce and Jackson still fighting the good fight. And I sincerely hope that long may that continue, and maybe if more people subscribed, bought the newspaper, the magazine. I sound like I'm about to plug myself there. I'm not. Then maybe they'll get more budget from Post Media to do more pages and get the newspaper back to the size that it was. Joseph Camo, I'll read this out. I don't understand it, I'm afraid, Joseph. I'm not over smart. But bring small modular reactors into New Brunswick to lower energy costs, ? If you think that's a good idea, then so do I. And to be honest, anything to lower costs for people here. Oh, there's a question here from someone, which is reminding me, I've got a note here. Heidi White, beautiful, amazing, brilliant, hilarious Heidi. Her birthday is on the June 25th. And our mutual beautiful friend Trish Vauteur will be in Europe with Glenn, I hope. She won't. It's sad. Oh my God. Trish will not be with Heidi on her birthday. They are the best of friends. They are two of the sweetest, kindest, loveliest people I have ever been lucky enough to call friends. So I'm sorry, Heidi, that Trish isn't here. But I want you to know, Heidi, that we want you to have the very, very best birthday. Trish is thinking of you in Europe. Where in Europe are you, Trish? Let us know. Heidi, where are you spending your birthday? And Heidi, hope to see you soon. And I hope your amazing girlfriend spoils you. And you have asked a question, which is what reminded me of that. If you were to apply to be part of the Avengers, but you were rejected because they said your superpower is kind of boring, what would that superpower be? That superpower, Heidi, would be rambling. So if I was an Avenger, I'd be applying based on the fact that I would bore the tyrannical villain to death by rambling a load of bollocks. Mark Craig, I like this question. Similar love to Kate, and I can't wait to see you at this. Mark's question is, the one comedy show to attend in the Maritimes this summer is, and it will be the show that you see Mark and Kate at, and every time they bring not only their wonderful sons, but also bring other kids to introduce them to stand-up comedy. You know it, Mark. It's either Thursday 24th of July or Friday 25th of July at the Yipsider Dome, or on the 29th at Hampton Brewing Company. Mark and Kate, I can't wait to see you there. Kathy Richardson. Kathy, this is about food, which is nice because the last time I saw lovely Kathy, we were at Drew Haven Town and Country in St. Andrews at the Charlotte County Christian Academy fundraiser. And before I performed, I got to eat salmon with Kathy. It's her universal subject. Her YouTube channel, which is called Epicurious Cat, she's trying a bunch of different local takeouts. Talk about some great places you've dined in your travels or food trends you've noticed. Okay, best sushi. Sushi Blossom in Quispamsis or Rosse, one of the two. Big D's Poutine, my son tells me, is the best poutine in the world. My father-in-law says it is the greatest burger. St. John Ale House in St. John, the clam dish that Jessie Vergen, she went out and caught these clams. The St. John Ale's, also the buttermilk chicken is to die for. Kathy, I'm going to come up with a list for next week, because there's millions of places. Sushi Blossom is my go-to takeout place, and I highly recommend it. Obviously, there's millions where you are. And tell me your recommendations for in and around St. George. I believe I'm right in thinking you live in St. George. I know you're in Charlotte County. Tim Andrews, God bless you, Timmy. I thought of you while I was in Blackpool. Am I going to see Big Kev when he tours Moncton? Kevin Bridges, Glaswegian Scottish comedian, is coming to the Maritimes. Again, it's phenomenal. These comedians that I knew in the UK that I didn't know anyone here knew. They come here and they sell out instantly. Is it expats going? Is it Canadians? I don't know. I'm not going to go, Tim. That's that. I'm not going to go. I'm not going to go because I again, it's great. It's wonderful. These comedians want to come to our region, but my money is going to go on Canadian artists. Sandy Christensen, always lovely to hear from you. The beautiful beaches of our drive-through province. They don't know what they're missing. You're right, Sandy. We do have beautiful beaches here. One of my favourite beaches is the one on Long Island that I want to kayak over to. I was at Dominion Park with Kelly Lawson a few nights ago doing a shoot with the beautiful Audi S3, and that is a gorgeous beach. And there's all those houses around Dominion Park. Go down there and have a peek at them. My goodness, what a beautiful community. Lovely to meet a lovely lady that I used to chat to a lot at the Eastside Liquor Store. If you work in a liquor store, we're pretty much best friends. What other beaches? Oh, obviously there's the Kawujawak, Kelly's Beach, I think it is. That is a gorgeous beach. And finally, Gary Short. You need to look up Swamp Bear Art. Joel Palmer, he's from Browns Flat, incredible chainsaw artist in our own backyard. You're right, Gary. I did know that. My art director, Lindsay Vauteur, she told me about him and told me some time ago we should feature him in the magazine. It has not yet happened. So, as I always say, it's an amazing thing. When we started the magazine, everyone said you're going to run out of things to write about. Literally, you want to know what's happened to local media, Joseph? If we had the funding, I could put out a copy of Marital Media every single week. There is so many amazing, awesome, brilliant things happening, wonderful people doing incredible things, initiatives that need supporting, non-profits that need supporting, charities that need supporting, news, reviews. We don't get the funding we need. We don't get the support we need. We barely get the advertising we need because all of our government and local organizations choose to advertise on Facebook. And I will say this, I've said this before. Whenever you see one of your local theatres or art galleries or regional growth organizations, when you see the word sponsored under one of their posts on Facebook, you know they have chosen. Why is there no local media? I'm going to answer the question right now. It's simple. Because when you see the word sponsored under an advert for, I'm going to name names, Atlantic Lottery. That's Atlantic Canadian money to support Atlantic Canadian communities through gambling. When you see one of their ads on Facebook and the word sponsored is underneath it, that means they have made a decision to not support or advertise in a local news or lifestyle publication. They have chosen to send your money, New Brunswick's Atlantic Canadians' money, to Mark Zuckerberg, a man who not only supports Donald Trump, but actually paid for his inauguration. So when you buy an Atlantic Lotto ticket, essentially you are sending money to Donald Trump. That is absolutely insane. That is what's happened to local media. And I name them, but basically just look for the word sponsored. Look for the word sponsored under any post by any organization. And they're sending money to Mark Zuckerberg, who funds and supports Donald Trump. That's a fact. Okay, I want to end on a positive, so I will. I guess everyone have a great weekend. Check out Joel Palmer from Brown's Flat, Swamp Bear Art. Tune into the good stuff with Mary Berg next Tuesday. Lots of surprises. Come and see me at my yard sale next Saturday. Thanks to everyone that came to the shows with Ali Hassan. I've been James Mullinger. You've been you. I appreciate you. I think you know that. Love you very much. I'm going to take my kids to the dentist. That's it. Bish bash bosh. Sweet as a nut. Lovely jubbly. Let's bring that word back. Going back to the very beginning. Liam Patrick McNamara said it himself. Bosh. I'll see you in the. I'll see you on the streets, people. Shout Bosh at me. Love you. Bye.
Mullinger's Weekly Ramble.